I'm going to do the intro now.
No
Hello
pressure.
and welcome. Damn it, Tim.
Bunch of weirdos. Leave that as the intro. I like it.
Hello and welcome to something completely different. Today we are gathered here with the likes of iGaming HD, Sam, Guardy FIFA, The Flying Orangutan, and T-Ray Aldi, and we're gonna go ahead and play a little game. We're just gonna say a footballer's name, and they have to argue it's either overrated or underrated. We're gonna go a number of rounds. We're gonna eliminate certain people, and in the end, we will have a champion to see who is the most knowledgeable in the footballing world, or at least the most convincing, I would say. I am your host and totally unbiased judge, to be honest, aka the Fat Asian. What is it? The hashtag dab?
Hashtag it.
Oh, dab
Hashtag dab.
Dab tag it.
Dab tag it.
Damn.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna leave the video. Like, that just
I don't want to be associated with that in public, like on a platform like YouTube. Please don't do that again.
That your room looks like a Holocaust shelter. Probably not going in the video. And each one of them is going to get 15 seconds to either argue the point overrated, underrated, and at the end of each round, I'm going to go ahead and decide to give the points to one side of the arguments. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get into this. First name on the list today is the hottest youngster in world football, Monaco's Mbappe. Tim, begin now.
Overrated simply because of the fact that he's already been compared to Thierry Henry when he's only 18 years old. He still has to build his career and prove that he can reach that level. And so far, people have already hyped him up to be exactly that, but we don't know if he will become like that.
All right, Sam, 15 seconds to go.
I have to agree with Tim. I have to say he's overrated for the fact that I don't think there's anyone in the world underrating him. Everybody is on this kid right now. Everybody wants to sign him, and he's being regarded as one of the best young talents. I just do not see an argument for him being underrated, and that's why he's overrated.
All right, and Niren?
I would say overrated as well. A similar argument really to Sam in that everybody in the world is loving this guy at the moment. He has, in fairness, done a very good job this season, but it's got to be proven on a multi-season basis, not just one.
Okay, and Tyler, do you want to argue against this?
I am. I'm going to say underrated, simply for the fact that Tim brought up the fact that he's the next Thierry Henry and hasn't proven it yet, even though in the youth level, he has full-on broken Thierry Henry's records at Monaco, and in Champions League, he is like the youngest player to score a certain amount of goals in Champions League at 18 years of age. So I think he's underrated because people look at youngsters. Okay.
All right. Run over. I'll let you run over 3 seconds. All right, Tyler, I was swayed. I was swayed near the end about the youth level, and if you would have gave me a bigger stat, if you would have led with the Champions League stat, I might have been able to give it to you. But I think I am gonna give it to Tim, Sam, and Niren for the simple fact that, if we're going from the broad term of overrated, everyone is literally on this guy's D. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to them. So Tim, Sam, and the F and G, they're gonna go ahead and get 1 point.
I could have just joined their argument. I had balls, alright? Leave me alone.
Sam, overrated, underrated, Paul Pogba. Begin.
I personally believe that he is an underrated player. I think if you'd asked me this maybe a season ago at Juventus, everybody was on him. Everybody was saying that Pogba was the best midfielder in the world. Since moving to United, he hasn't been terrible. But the people that are saying that he's bad because of his price tag have said he's complete shit, and he just isn't complete shit as a central midfielder.
All right, and Niren.
I'm actually going to say underrated as well. Now, I don't actually think he's as good as people thought he was last season, but this season, a lot of people have been saying that he's absolutely terrible and basing it purely off assists and goals especially, as where he's playing in that central midfield for Manchester United, he's not going to be getting many, so people shouldn't be basing it off that.
All right. Tyler.
I'm going to say the same thing as them. Basically, he's not getting enough goals and assists, so people are going to say that he's overrated. But if you look at what he's doing outside of goals and assists, he has more than, I think, almost 200 more passes completed in Europa League than any other player this season. So he's doing a lot more than advertised, and I'd say he's underrated.
All right. And Tim, your counter argument.
I have to go overrated, right? Okay. He's overrated because this is actually factual. He's the world's most expensive player. Has he warranted that price tag? No, he has not. This is factual. He's not the best midfielder in the world at this moment in time. Yes, he's good, but he does not warrant that 89 price tag. That pretty much sums up why he's overrated.
I am going to side with the majority in this one with Sam, Niren, and Tyler, for the simple fact that, yes, he's not lived up to the 89 million, price tag. You're not paying the 89 million for just one season. We will see in the next coming seasons if he truly does live up to that price tag, or, if inflation goes ahead and brings that price tag more to a relative standard. That could be the new norm. Who knows? All right, number 3, and it is working out perfectly. Niren wasn't even supposed to be in this video. He just randomly was in the chat, and we brought him in, and now...
I was just there on the street.
Actually
like, please,
yeah.
I need some money.
You just brought him in.
Let's go ahead and...
You want to be in a video? That's how organized we are. But I'm just saying that this is serendipitous because I pre-wrote these down and you are here now. All, the stars had to align. For Niren, you are beginning on this one, and the topic is Jurgen Klopp, overrated, underrated. Begin.
Overrated. Which is mad to say as a Liverpool fan, but I do genuinely believe unless he can prove himself at Liverpool for a sustained period of time in the Premier League, the hardest league in the world, I don't feel as if he can have that tag as being one of the greatest managers in the world.
All right, Tyler.
I'm going to also say overrated, simply for the fact that with his Dortmund team, he didn't nearly achieve as much as he should have. And Liverpool, near the end of the season, especially second half of the season, he struggled a lot with the players that he has available to him. I'd maybe give him another season, but as of now, I'd say overrated.
Tim.
I'm going to say underrated. There aren't many managers that can walk into the Premier League and do the business straight away. Yes, there's been a few, but if you're calling Jurgen Klopp underrated for what he's done now, then Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, look at where they are in the table. They're supposed to be then shit as well if you're just looking at the league standings and stuff like that. So for me, he's whatever I say.
I'm going to say underrated as well. I believe what he was able to do with Dortmund and the team that he built there, not many managers can take an average team and make them Champions League finalists. I think that's very difficult to do, and what he's able to do with average players is absolutely remarkable, something that Pep's not done. He's always had the best players in the world.
All right, I'm torn on this one. This is so hard. I'm gonna give it to overrated. I'm gonna give it to overrated simply for the fact that
I fucking countered that from the Prem by saying Guardiola and Mourinho and stuff that they have had windows and 4 players and still they haven't.
They've only had one season.
But I would also say that they're overrated too.
Yeah, I would say
I would argue that
100%.
Yeah, but so
it's not. We're not arguing who's better between Klopp, Mourinho, and Guardiola. We're arguing if they're overrated or underrated.
All right. So point totals after 3 rounds. Tim, you need to win this one.
Yeah, I know.
You're at 1. Sam and Tyler are at 2, and Niren has bandwagoned his way to 3 points somehow.
I can only say I frauded my way to this points tally.
Tyler, overrated, underrated. Olivier Giroud, begin.
Oh my god, he's overrated. The fact that he plays for Arsenal and is on his salary despite not doing much at all, his work rate is extremely poor. He doesn't score many goals, yet plays for one of the better teams in England. Doesn't make sense at all. Not to mention, he's getting France call-ups despite other scorers scoring more than him.
All right, and Tim.
Overrated. Even being at a big club like Arsenal, his limitations have been exposed, and the fact of the matter is, if he had to step down and go for a lesser club, he would not be able to do anything. He's just overrated.
And Sam?
Well, I also think, sorry Niren, he's overrated. It's pretty simple. He's playing at what's meant to be a top 4 side in England, and he just doesn't fit the bill. He would not get into any of the rest of the top 6's team as a striker, and it's that simple. And if you're at a big club like that, and you're not performing, then you are simply overrated.
All right, and Niren, your counter argument.
Well, I guess I'm saying underrated. I actually could argue this one in the fact that everyone believes he's terrible, but at the end of the day, he scored 16 goals last season, which is a fairly decent tally as far as strikers are concerned, even though he's playing at Arsenal, and solely because everyone thinks he's bad, and he's actually scored a decent amount of goals last season, I would say he's underrated.
All right, I'm gonna give this to Niren.
Oh, fuck you!
How the fuck? You're just racist towards non-English people.
Because this is overrated, underrated, and as proven by you guys saying, I don't think anybody rates Giroud highly. The fact, Tyler, that you said that he does nothing, his work rate isn't that high, but as Niren said, he's banged in a decent amount of goals. He doesn't do it, maybe as prolifically as other people, but he does get the job done. He's not a flashy tool, but he is a tool nonetheless. But we're going on the same parameters that we went for Mbappe about everybody was on his D, thus he is overrated. Then you have to do the reverse for Giroud, which is everyone shits on Giroud.
Giroud's D, and he gets call-ups all the time over people that have scored twice the amount of goals than him.
B and Niran aren't even saying that he's good. They're just saying that he's underrated.
Yeah,
that can mean that you rate him a 1 out of 10 and he's a 2 out of 10. That's the whole thing. Like, he's underrated.
All right, for number 5, the topic is FIFA 17. You could argue Ultimate Team, you could argue Career Mode, you could argue The Journey. Underrated or is it overrated? FIFA 17. Begin, Tim.
I think it's underrated simply because most people haven't touched the best game mode on FIFA there is, and that is Pro Clubs. There is something about Pro Clubs and playing VFL Competitive, for example, that you just don't get with other game modes of other games, and people just haven't tried it. That's why it's underrated.
Sam?
I think in terms of gameplay, it's probably the most underrated FIFA game ever. I think the gameplay in this game is pretty much the best we've seen in terms of realistic football. But if you're looking at game modes, then holy shit, that's a completely different argument.
And Niran?
I would say it's overrated because obviously a lot of people... I don't even know. Why have I said overrated? It's just that's it. That's
the current leader in the argument.
He doesn't know why he's arguing his point. That's
all right. I'm gonna deduct a point from Niran right now. All right, Tyler, you're up.
I'd say underrated simply for the fact that every year a new FIFA comes out, the gameplay always gets better from the previous installment, yet people always go, man, I miss FIFA 13, I miss FIFA 14, yet in the newest FIFA, there's always the newest additions, and the additions are always better than the previous version.
Oh, but I'm just going to give it to the underrated because... You know, literally, Niran said nothing.
Also, going back to Giroud, 16 players have scored more goals than him this season, so fuck him.
Oh, well, right.
But he's been called up, and Lacazette hasn't, Tyler, so Lacazette is shit.
Actually, he has, so go fuck yourself.
Now, after 5 rounds, I've deducted a point from Niran.
I actually had a point deducted.
Yes,
you said overrated, and because oh shit, I don't know why it's overrated.
Yeah,
I'm still last, Niran. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Tim's still eliminated, and now we have a 3-way tie going into. I'm just gonna say Tim's eliminated, and we're just gonna go into the final with 3 people. Why not? The points don't matter here. Who cares?
Shit host.
Whoever has the most points out of this, you can either argue on either one of these sides, and whoever comes out after these 3 is the champion of overrated. Underrated. And we begin, Sam, overrated, underrated, and for the championship round, you have 30 seconds to go ahead and argue your points. Marcus Rashford, begin.
I believe Rashford is underrated. I think a lot of people see him as a big name with no real talent. I think a lot of people have seen the form that he's been in this season and have said, you know what, maybe this kid doesn't have it, maybe he can't be consistent, but there's everything in Rashford's game, the pace, the physical strength, and the ability to finish to say that he is going to be a solid striker. I think right now in his career, he is a pretty solid English striker. He's not just a young kid anymore. And I think a lot of people still see him as a young kid when I do believe he's one of England's average to solid strikers.
All right, and Niran?
I would say underrated as well. And I'm actually going to use a comparison here. Gabriel Jesus, who plays for Manchester City, obviously. A lot of people have been really going on about him, but Marcus Rashford has been matching him, at least this season, in terms of performances and his prowess in front of goal. A lot of people, I think that Marcus Rashford has been a one-season wonder because he hasn't had the effect that he did last season by blowing up onto the scene. But he's a very good player and a natural finisher, so therefore I think he's underrated.
And Tyler, you do not have to counter-argument in this championship round. You can argue underrated, overrated, either way. And I will just give it to whoever had the best argument out of the 3. So Tyler?
I'm going to go different from them anyway. I'm going to say overrated, simply for the fact that I'm looking at the goal scorers list right now, top goal scorers, and I feel like I can't find Rashford anywhere. And if I go to ages 17 through 20, Rashford has played more games than anybody at 32, but only scored 5 goals. As a striker, that is pretty pathetic.
You have 10 seconds left. Would you like to say anything?
Okay. Well, he was thought of as England's savior because of how good he did last season, but if he's only scoring 5 goals in 32 games, can he really be the next England star? I don't think so.
The fact that, yes, he does have a lot of games played, and his goal-scoring record isn't exactly the best, but I'm going to say even if he wasn't even playing on the wing, A lot of those games that he came in as, he did not start. Actually, I'm gonna give it to Tyler.
Fuck yeah.
I'm gonna give the points to
bullshit.
Tyler.
No, it's not
Because-
bullshit.
Nah,
It's
if you
not
rate
right.
that.
What a shit argument.
I'm gonna give
No,
it. No,
that's a really good argument. What are you
I'm gonna
talking
give it
about?
to Tyler, not only because he gave me the stats, but if we're looking at it for overrated, underrated, I don't really see a lot of criticism for Rashford. They haven't been trashing him like they have other players in, the English media. The English media really does love to trash their talented young players. So for that, I'm gonna give it to Tyler. All right, next up, Niren, you're gonna go ahead and start us off right here. Cristiano Ronaldo. To the aspect of right now in the world.
I'm going to say underrated because a lot of people do compare him obviously to Lionel Messi. They are the two best players in the world realistically, but a lot of people automatically go for Lionel Messi when in actual fact Cristiano Ronaldo's all-round game is far better, in my opinion, than Lionel Messi. That's just my opinion. I see Tyler shaking his head, but that's what I'm basing it off. I don't know the stats, but that's just personal opinion.
All right, Tyler, you seem to disagree.
I'm going to say overrated. I love Ronaldo, but you can't say his overall game is better than Messi's when Messi provides far more assists and more goals on top of Ronaldo. Also, Messi actually shows up in big games. El Clasico is a perfect example. Ronaldo tends to fade away. He didn't score in the last Champions League final, yet took the last PK anyway, so he could take the full glory for himself. I'd say he's overrated. People tend to rate him as the best player in the world, yet he's really isn't. Overrated.
All right, and Sam, overrated, underrated, Cristiano Ronaldo.
I'm going to say Ronaldo is underrated, despite thinking Messi is the better player. That's actually why I'm saying he's underrated. Ronaldo is actually a fantastic talent, and I do believe a lot of people put him in second when I think it should be more of a debate. I don't believe his all-round game is better, but there's just something about Ronaldo and his physical stats that I just don't think anybody looks at. And additionally, he's won international trophies. He's owned the last few seasons. He's winning everything there is, and people are still not giving him a shot in this debate. And I'd say a majority is with Messi, so that would be the reason I'd say he's underrated.
All right, Tyler, I really thought your argument was very, very strong, but I'm gonna give this to Sam and Niren.
I'd agree.
Not because I found their arguments compelling, just because I want a three-way tie going into the final round.
That's fantastic. Okay.
I actually
I'll take it. I don't even care. I'll take it.
It's all fixed. I thought mine and Sam's arguments were both very good, and if you would have given that to Sam, not because of those reasons, I wouldn't have been mad, but now I'm mad.
So we go into the final round of overrated, underrated, and you could argue whichever side. We got a three-way tie here. Whoever has the best argument out of you three will win the crown. Tyler, you begin. 30 seconds on the clock. Overrated, underrated, the true Geordie.
The true Geordie.
Yes, either his channel
So
or the person.
Why are we switching from footballers to a YouTuber? Just right at the end.
Adapt or die. 30 seconds, begin.
Can't look up stats. He's so
Oh my
sad.
god.
Look at him.
God. I'd say the True Geordie is personally underrated because his podcast is very, very good, yet doesn't get the amount of views that other YouTubers get that are around his size. He should be getting more views for that, and his opinions on football in general are typically very good and not biased, except for Newcastle, and I think that he is underrated.
All right, Sam, overrated, underrated, true Geordie.
Overall, I think True Geordie's pretty underrated, mainly because of his sub count. He is in the hundreds of thousands, but you see a lot of people with over that, and even people with millions of subs who really don't deserve it. And I think he's someone that works hard. I think he's someone that speaks his mind, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And he wasn't picked to commentate the YouTube All-Stars vs. Sidemen match, and people just keep overlooking him. But I think he's really underrated as a content creator and as a person. I think he's one of the best out there.
All right, and Niren, take us home.
I am also going to join the underrated bandwagon. Again, because of sub count, it's only in the hundreds of thousands. I think his podcasts are some of the most compelling in the sports community, and his opinions are very strong. Also adding to the Sidemen versus YouTube All-Stars sort of opinion. Realistically, he didn't do that this year, and Joe Weller and Elliot Crawford were not as good, and a lot of people last year thought that True Geordie wasn't very strong. So obviously that comparison between last year's coverage and this year's coverage would suggest that actually he was a lot better than people suggested he was.
All right, and we have brought it home. I've listened to all you guys' arguments, and the first winner of overrated, underrated working title is Guardy FIFA. I'm gonna give it to to Gardy. Tyler, you had very good points, but Sam brought up the actual sub count and the fact that Niran pretty much parroted a lot of Sam's points.
Yeah, that wasn't much I could say after.
I will say I was tempted to give it to Niran for the fact that it would be funny that he wasn't even supposed to be in this video and would win it. It did tempt me, but Niran, if you had put up like half of an argument, that
you can't give it to Niran after he goes overrated because fuck. Wait, I don't know
you
why.
did kind of choke away Elite here. But anyway, guys, thank you to everyone who went ahead and joined us. Leave in the comments down below. Is there any topics, any footballers that we should be discussing overrated? Who do you think is overrated, underrated? Do you think I'm retarded for the choices that I made?
Absolutely.
Probably, but the points really don't matter in here. Go ahead, check out everyone's links are going to be in the description down below. They all doing amazing content except Tyler, who does amazing thumbnails. So if you want to see his work, just check out any of our channels. If you really enjoy this, smash out the like button with your nips and all that goodness. But goodbye, people. Goodbye. Rub it, Tyler. All right.
Champ.